Hey, what's up? Thanks for clicking the video. This is part 19 in the Writing on Trump's Wall series in my Trump Train to Magaland little section on this channel where I read the post-its from the wall on the Union Square subway station that I recorded and took photographs of a few days after Donald J. Trump won the election to be the 45th president of those United States of America. I mean, there's this thing when you're in the United States, they used to say it in the past old-timey days, these United States of America, because it's talking about all the things that are the United States. I guess when you're outside, you can say the, but I'm trying out the those. Let me know what you think about that. Well, anyway, so part of what I keep in mind when I'm recording this series is people literally mean things figuratively. And this is just a general thing. Language changes, and it's good to establish what someone means. Like, I just remember growing up, some of you might grow up at the same time that I did, when Michael Jackson was coming out with a song like, Who's Bad? Like, there's that word bad. Who's bad? That didn't mean you were a bad person. People wanted to be bad, even though people want to be good. If you get it, being bad was good. So some of these things kind of happen. There's not any physical Trump train that's going to take us to an actual location on some kind of map called Magaland, if Magaland was even open. Is Magaland closed now because like Disneyland and Disney World and all these like theme parks and things like that are closed? Is Magaland closed? Maybe that's an ongoing question that we're going to be answering in this now that this pandemic is here. So now on to the readings. Before the reading, I'm just going to open up with just a little current affairs thing. This is shortly after President Donald J. Trump, supposedly in one of his pressers, suggested that people should start injecting bleach into themselves to try and fight off the coronavirus. Now, I watched it live as I've been watching some of these pressers, and he didn't really say that exactly. But as it's current here, it didn't really surprise me, the reaction to this. I'm just thinking, just imagine if you heard that Trump said we should try injecting disinfectant to people, and then you actually thought, hey, let me actually take some time and actually go listen to what he actually said. Or in the very least, check if you're reading this in an article, or if this is actually in some kind of video, have some actual direct quotation, link to the actual thing. Just put in some effort. Here is something from the official White House transcript of the press briefing. Found this on Reason.com, but there's actual ways you can find this on the White House website. You can go to the White House YouTube page. You can watch these things from many other locations. So here we go. I asked Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of. If you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So, supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. It sounds interesting. And then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in 1 minute. 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost cleaning? Because you see it gets into the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So I'll leave a link below to that Reason article so you guys can check it out for yourself. It has a link to the video where it just starts at the actual thing. And I was watching it live and I was like, no, don't say that. Like, wow. I mean, the way he looked, he was looking over. This is, again, I might have some bias towards this, but I have seen a lot of Trump. I think this was him being kind of jovial and things like that, kind of joking around. I didn't take it as a literal thing that he's actually asking that. And there was also some discussion here about the ultraviolet and powerful light, because there actually have been some therapies that are showing when you actually take the blood out and then you pass certain lights through it or certain ultraviolet lights over certain surfaces, or there's actually testings finding that the sun itself might actually have some effects in actually killing the virus. That's actually been found. You actually look around and there's actual therapies involving these kind of things where you get the blood out, using a light, you sterilize or disinfect it, maybe, and then you put it back into somebody's body, and then there's actually ways where that is somewhat positive for certain things. He's even talking about here how there's medical doctors and things, but once I listened to it, I was laughing live listening to it. It's like, oh, that's going to be clipped in a horrible way. Like, no, you don't say that. You can't say that. That's not how that works. You can't do it that way. So it is what it is. But people are now thinking that he literally meant that. And this is 100% proof, more proof. If you needed proof before, you should have already understood all the horrible garbage things Trump did. From when he talked about how all Mexicans were rapists, and just the recent one with chloroquine, and that chloroquine has now ended up killing people, and that woman that killed her husband with the thing. But just wait a minute, wait 1 second. Part of why I got onto this whole Trump train thing. Part of the start of it. Part of why I started looking out where the Trump train is. Should I get a ticket to this? Should I pay attention to this? Is this MAGA land a thing? Is it part of why I even started imagining that was hearing that Trump had called all Mexicans racists or rapists, and then actually went on and checked and listened to the actual live thing, and that's not what he said. This was in the context of certain Mexicans that are involved in the human smuggling of people illegally across the border, and talking about the statistics of how many of the women and girls are actually raped and sexually assaulted in this time. He was talking about how there actually are some criminals there. The context, he was talking to the people who were listening to him, saying they're not sending people like you, talking about these people in general better. Some of the people are horrible. And he finished off that paragraph by saying, and some of them are good people. Just like here, he's talking, he was addressing the reporters and saying, oh, you could this way. Then he was addressing a doctor on the side, just people on the side, kind of asking and teasing back and forth. It seemed more jovial. It seemed more jovial. Is jovial a word? No, I don't think it's a word. I don't know why I'm going with the jovial thing. But the jovial thing, it might have not been the appropriate thing to do, because there's not too many people who are in that friendly, cheerful mood when it comes to Trump. So that happened, that changed, and that's just more evidence of how people see things in entirely different ways. Some people see it as, oh, this is finally people going to see this and realize that the media is ridiculous and makes things up. People who don't like Trump, or people on some other side, are saying this is going to finally show people that Trump is an idiot and we have to get him out. But that's the world that we live in, and I'm trying to make some sense out of that by reading these post-its, and let me get to that first post-it now. That's on the screen here, and this one's a bit blurry. I'm taking screen caps from the video, and some of them are not the best quality. And here it says, Pence and Trump. Then it looks like do, and then there's something that misses out there, change. And then in capital letters, this is your future. I think that's what it is. And there might be some exclamation marks there, or that just might be some initials for the person. Now, this in the context of the current year, especially with this pandemic, especially with this precedent, especially what I talked about in this opening current affairs situation. Something happens, and then you hear things that are not complete, and then you make some kind of decision off of it that normally fits your worldview already. Now, in this situation, I'm trying to communicate something to you. I recorded it, I put it up there, and there's things missing. There's things missing in the middle. And I think Trump does this. This is one thing I wish he did not do. I don't know if this is an age thing. I haven't heard him speaking. I can't recall him speaking back in the past. I wasn't really watching The Apprentice much, and that might have been more scripted. But he has this tendency of speaking disjointedly. Like he'll talk about something, then he'll jump somewhere else. Like in this quote I just gave you, towards the end there, he goes and says, so that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, then, but it sounds interesting to me. So it's with what? Use medical doctors with what? What is the actual situation? Are you talking about the situation with the actual testing of it, or the doctor would have to suggest this thing to you? Before he's talking about light, then he doesn't really talk about does a subject switch from the light inside the body to actual disinfectant? And what is a disinfectant? They've actually shown that some actual things that are part of disinfectants have been found to be in certain vaccines. They have found that, with actual disinfectants, I remember my mom talking to me rather early before these tests of these things were coming out, before a lot of the actual suggestions of different therapies were coming out. She showed me this Dettol thing, and they even mentioned here, like British manufacturer of Lysol and Dettol cleaning products, there's actually a thing on the back there that says coronavirus, because coronavirus is a known thing. Then people have been told this is a horrible thing, and it's, this thing already fights coronavirus, so let me actually try it out, at least for cleaning. And most people will just keep it on the cleaning, but a small minority will go and actually do more with it. And that has been seen with an uptick of actual people calling into, I think, the poison hotline in New York or something about issues with different cleaners and things like this. I'm thinking there could be a chance it's because it's written helps or fights coronavirus on there. And then that is being tied to this thing that Trump said. But then you actually look at the data, and that spike already occurred before Trump said anything. How many people do you actually think watched the actual Trump pressers? Now, if Trump actually said that, said you should try this, it's actually working. And as I mentioned before with the chloroquine thing, I saw somebody actually listing now that, oh, he's been talking up chloroquine. But already when people are listing these things as the horrible things Trump did, Trump was specifically talking about hydrochloroquine, which is a different element than chloroquine. How many people actually understand some of these things? How many things are misquoted in different ways and they just change? How many people actually go to the source to actually get the information? Then when you have situations like this with this post-it, where there's limited information because the information is actually changed because of a limitation in the actual technology that I use, this is not by any fault of my own. I didn't want to destroy this actual post-it. I would prefer to actually understand it. Now I go filling in what I'm thinking. Could this be Pence and Trump did not win, nothing will change? Could this be Pence and Trump lost, support won't change? What did the person actually say here? So with this one, I took some effort to actually change the actual image and see if I can change the contrast or use different filters and things like that. And use a burn to kind of see if I can pull out the letters, and I still couldn't. So in here, I actually have a situation where actually getting the source material, let alone actually being able to contact the person and ask them, isn't there. So I think I'm within my right to have some confusion on this, or to have some situation where I don't necessarily understand this, where I wouldn't go out and confidently tell you this is what this person wrote on this post-it, leave alone the whole literally means figuratively thing. So why are people so comfortable with judging things on Pence and Trump and other politicians and other things in their life when they can actually go and get the actual source material? They just make these decisions without actually getting the actual sources that's available. When do you think that's going to change? When people actually say, let's actually go get the sources? Because I think once that happens, then a lot of things actually will change. And I think that is our future. Because if we don't do that as a people, as a human species in general, if enough of us don't start doing this, don't start demanding actual higher levels of fact and reality and truth and information, I think it will be bad for all of us, and that could really hamper our future. Okay, next post-it. What's the best system we can all embrace? How do we get there? Now this guy, I like this guy. So I don't necessarily read these ahead of time before I come out and record. My system of doing this is a few months ago, I took some screen caps of different sections and then I put it in Post-it and put the time stamp on them in the sections. So I have these up together, and then now I'm getting halfway through the ones I actually have, so I think sometime later on this week I'll do some more. So by the time I actually come back around to select and say, okay, I'm going to have 5 up, I don't necessarily know exactly what's going on unless it gets to the point where I record enough and I see the next one. But this one just works excellently as a continuation to what I was saying at the end of the last post-it. What is the best system we can all embrace? I think getting more information, more accurate information, being a bit more skeptic before we just follow things. Don't just take things for granted. I think part of what's been such a shock to a lot of people is a lot of people in the world expected certain things out of their current society, current system, that they thought these systems were actually sufficient in order to actually provide the things they require or the things they consider to be important in their lives. And I don't think that's the case. So for me, it hasn't been that surprising to see some of the kerfuffle and just shenanigans that have gone on with this thing. My expectations for bureaucracies, for state systems, has been very low. My actual understanding of what the actual state system has done to different private sector and different other entities that are not directly involved with the actual state is a situation where I understand these are mutated, these are crippled, these are limited in certain ways. Things can be so much better. Part of my objection to the schooling system is I think kids want to be educated. People in general love to learn new information. I'm talking about actual love. I think there is something where people look at that in the non-loving sense of another living being. I think love of information, love of knowledge, love of getting new actual... I'm trying to think of a right way to encompass this. Just being more in tune with what actually is. I think that's something that makes people feel positive, makes people feel good. And I don't think the current schooling system is something that's achieving that. And that's in part as it's part of the state system. That system is not open to the right amounts of communication. It's not open to the right amounts of change and challenges that actually create something to evolve to the actual situation that we have in current year. And despite that, we still have so many abilities. We've seen in this pandemic, whether you think it's actually appropriate to what we did, I think there's been a lot of positive things that have been done after it, a lot of things doing to just address and try to get the best way to fight off this pandemic, identify what it is, find ways to deal with it. Certain things have been closed down and limited. Now we're seeing, do we have to have these things to get this so-called future-based system of life that we have in the future? Now this is going to happen again. From what we've seen with this actual virus, it is something that is going to come by again, whether it comes directly by accident from a bat or whether it's some leak again from some lab somewhere else. Or it's just some other thing, because some rock could fall from space and have some actual kind of some kind of actual virus in it, or some kind of element that changes something that affects us. And what is the best system to deal with that future actual issue that will come again? Should we do it this way? You look at all the different countries and all the different locations that have dealt with this similar type of issue, and now we say, okay, which are the best systems to do this? How do we actually get to that better system if we find out that our system wasn't able to do this, this other country's system was able to do that? Let's try and do that system here. Does that mean we have to have a better educated populace, a better informed populace, raise the trust between us, have more freedom in certain sectors for them people to be able to adjust and create this? Why are there only limited countries that can provide certain resources? Can we provide enough of those resources locally if we are all of a sudden shut down? There are different things to think of, and I think with this person's question, this is a really good question, and these are the kind of people I just really wish I could actually meet and talk to some of these people. But for now, I'm limited with making these videos, making these recordings, and sharing them with you out there. And again, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the two post-its in this video and the current affairs kind of look through about what Trump said at that presser. Whether you like him or not, what was your thoughts on it? Did you hear it later on and then actually go back and listen to what he actually said? Did you hear what he said live and were surprised by the actual coverage of it? Do you think I'm being too easy on him? Do you think I'm being biased? What do you think of what that post-it might have said, or what you thought the whole change situation was? And do you think this is the future that you expected when President Donald J. Trump won with Vice President Pence? Is this what you expected? Is this different? And on that last one, what do you suggest we should do to actually get to this better future that I think we all want, and just have different ideas of how to get to that place? We want to get to the same location, but we have different ideas of the means to get there. So that's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. There's links below to our merchandise store where you can get different kinds of merch and you can help support me while looking good. And you don't have to go out to the store in this social distancing time. You can get used to actually sending and ordering things online and things like that. There's also links to PayPal for one-time donations if you want to support me in that way. But the most appreciated thing is that you took the time to listen to this, and added appreciation is a like if you like this, a dislike if you disliked it, and let me know what you think in the comment section. Till next time, goodbye. Oh, one thing. I just checked, and the word I was thinking was jocular, and then I was turning that into jocual for some reason, which I still think should be a word. But I also think Trump should have understood that he was not in an environment where people would have been happy with him being joking, humorous, or playful. When the people were talking about, oh, these are actual rallies, I think at a rally that's taken a lot better than it's taken in that rather hostile environment of those White House pressers. Okay.